Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Andrea from Prairie Sky Paper Crafts. Today, I actually issued a color challenge on my Facebook page yesterday, and it was an even tie. Well, I suppose all ties are even, but anyway, I asked if people would rather see Calypso Coral or Cherry Cobbler. I've just been going through my cardstock, and I have a lot of both of these colors, and I don't use them a whole bunch. So I'm actually going to do 2 cards, one with each, and slightly different techniques. So I've got my little embossing buddy. If you don't have one, you can create your own with cornstarch or baby powder in a sock and just tie it up with an elastic, and it'll do exactly the same job. I'm going to be using Memento Black for my sentiment, Versamark for one of the cards, Smoky Slate for the other one, and I'm going to be doing Prized Peony. We were out driving yesterday, and I saw the most beautiful peony bushes that I've seen in an incredibly long time. So I've got the larger peony already on my block, and I've also got my heat tool close by, as well as some clear embossing powder. So we're going to do the Cherry Cobbler first. I've already cut it down so that it's roughly the size of a stamp. And I'm going to be putting it on a base of Very Vanilla, which I've cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. All right, so put our stamp back on the block. I'll Versamark it up. Now this Versamark pad is very well loved, but it doesn't matter because the ink color won't transfer onto your stamp. Okay, so I'm just going to move this off to the side and just quickly give this a once over. This is just basically going to make sure that nothing sticks where you don't want it to stick. So I'm going to flip it over, kind of eyeball it exactly where I want it, and then we're going to press it down. Lift it off, and then I'm just going to bring in my embossing powder here. Whoops, sorry, hit my phone stand. And then we're just going to run it across, and then as always, just tap to get rid of the excess. Or you can also flick the back, and then if you still have a few little spots and specks that you really don't want, you can just go over it with a brush and brush it away. So I'm gonna put this down, cover up the embossing powder, because Bailey is sitting here watching Bird TV. I think she's asleep at the moment, but you never know with her. She could wake up and wreak havoc in my craft room. Speaking of wreaking havoc, here goes my paper cutter. All right, I'm just gonna hold it down with my finger until you can start to see your embossing powder melt. And you can also use your take your pick tool to hold it down, but you do want to be careful not to go anywhere near the heat because it does heat up very quickly. And I'm just going to let it set for a second or two, just so it's nice and cool. And you can tell when it's completely heat embossed because it is, the whole part of it is shiny. You can also feel it. If there's any bits that feel kind of gritty still, just go over it again gently with your heat tool. All right, so we're done this part. Oh, picked up a little extraneous color there. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab a sentiment. Let's see. My thoughts are with you. That can be applicable to pretty much any situation. And then I'm just going to stick it onto one of my smaller stamp blocks and grab the Memento Black. Let's see. I think I'm going to aim for maybe not. I'm just going to do lower left. Put the lid back on and then grab my adhesive, which I swear was just here a second ago. There it is, right in front of me, and I didn't even see it. Actually, I think I'm going to round the corners on this. I've been using my Trio punch a lot lately. Just kind of gives it a bit of a different edge. Okay, so all you have to do is line up each edge with these two pieces and then punch through, and then it'll round your corners. If you do happen to make a mistake, you can try to reline it and then punch again. And of course, if it's not fixable, just grab another piece of cardstock and use the one that you've made a mistake on for something else. All right, so there's our first card. Super quick, super easy, and really pretty. Now we're going to be using the same stamp for the next one. For this one, I've used Calypso Coral 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I've stamped a piece of Very Vanilla at 4 by 5 1/4. And for this one, I'm actually going to be using the Smoky Slate. And because I'm going to be heat embossing it as well, we're just going to give it a quick little zhuzh with this, and then ink it up with Smoky Slate. And I'll do right there. Okay, now any of the water-based inks, so the classic Stampin' Pads, the Versamark will work when you want to do heat embossing. Memento tends to dry a little too quickly to do a really good job. And as well, Stays On does not work at all because it's not the right kind of ink. Okay, now because I didn't want to use Stays On for this, this is the reason that I'm heat embossing, because I will be using my watercolor pencils in Calypso Coral and Old Olive, and I'm going to be using my blender pen, which is something that you use with water-based inks. Now, if I just did it this way, without covering it or protecting it, the gray would run into the colors that I want. Plus, this way you get a little bit of texture and shine. And again, you can see it's starting to melt. And when it's shiny, it's all melted. I love heat embossing. It gives such an incredible look. And it's really relatively easy. Okay, so I'm just going to let it dry for a second and cool down, because the embossing powder is basically plastic. All right. Oh, I did forget to grab a blender pen, but I'm just going to get it right here. Okay, so I've got Calypso Coral. So I'm just going to go and fill in. Now, where there is the embossing powder, the ink or pencil isn't going to stick because it's blocking it from being there. So you can do a really super quick color with this, and then just kind of highlight areas that you want by pressing just a little bit darker. I like to do the outsides a titch darker, and then anything that might in nature be just a little darker. And it really doesn't matter how you play the color or how you place the color, because you're going to be going in with your blender pen, and that's going to smooth out all of the lines and all of the little jaggedy bits. So I'm going to do this one a bit darker here, I think, around the center. All right. And then when you're using your blender pen, I like to do circular motions just to kind of help even out that color layer. And even though this is, sorry, just lost track of my thought for a second. Nope, totally gone. Never mind. It'll come back maybe, or maybe not. I know we're starting to get into summer mindset here. The kids have only got a few more days of school. We've got some fun stuff planned for the summer. And I've got a couple of really fun ideas planned. Actually, more than just a couple. I'm going to be doing a Christmas in July. So there's actually 2 ways that you can participate in that. You can either just jump onto my Facebook page on July 25th and play along, or you can get the kit. I haven't quite got it all figured out yet. We're going to be doing 4 cards though. There may be some stuff featured from the new catalog, which I saw yesterday, and there's some super cute, super fun stuff coming. And if you've ordered from me within the last 6-ish months or so, I will be sending you a catalog, so no worries about that. So you can either watch and play along with your own supplies, or you can get the kit. So you'll get the supplies to make 4 Christmas cards. So basically using stuff from the annual catalog that's out right now, or some kind of non-traditional ideas. And I'm also going to be putting together a goodie surprise bag for people as well. Whoops. So now I'm just going to bring in the old olive. And same idea, just go over darker in some spots, lighter in other spots. It is so hot and humid here today. It's something like 33. We're supposed to be getting thunder showers, so it's completely clouded over right now. Hopefully we get it. It was 15 on Monday, and now it's 33, which is a little insane, I think. But it is summertime in Manitoba, so anything's possible. All right. Now, when you do your coloring with the blender pen, to make sure that you don't get color where you don't want it, I always color off onto a scrap piece of paper before I pick up the next color. All right. So there we go. That guy is done. Actually, we are going to do a different sentiment than we did on our first card. Love and thanks to a dear friend, I think. And I will wash these after I'm done. Actually, I saw a tip the other day, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So the demonstrator had her huge block, which people don't really use very well. I don't use it very much because usually I either have my Stamparatus for my large stamps, or if I'm using a background stamp, I just ink the stamp, roll my paper onto it, and then rub. So what she did was, when she was finished using her stamp to keep everything together so it doesn't get lost on your desk, she just chucked everything onto the stamp block and then took this stamp block to her sink and washed everything all at once. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I actually need to put that into practice. Okay, because I used the gray granite, smoky slate. For this one, I'm going to use smoky slate for my sentiment as well. And then I'm just going to bring it bottom right hand corner, I think. And then for this one, because I've got it on a full sheet of Calypso Coral, I'm going to use the decorative corner rounder. So same premise, you're going to line up the corners, push it in basically until you can't push it in anymore. Just don't force it so you don't bend your paper. Line it up and press, and you get these really pretty little eyelet type pieces. And then this other little piece you can use for ribbon. So you just feed your cardstock through, and then you just punch out your ribbon hole, and then you're done. That one's really handy for tying bows too. I think I might do a tutorial on how to use that to tie a bow next week. Okay, I think I'm gonna pop it up on dimensionals. I know I say I think a lot during my videos, and truthfully, I don't, other than planning maybe the stamp set that I'm going to be using and possibly the colors, I don't really plan ahead, because I think that creativity is really quite organic and you just gotta go with it sometimes. Okay, I'm just going to line it up so it's roughly centered and then place our card down. So we've got 2 different colors, 1 stamp set, 1 color of ink, embossing powder, and actually 2 colors of ink, a couple of watercolor pencils, and 2 totally different looking cards. So comment down below, let me know which one you prefer. I will be posting these up just as the image on my Facebook page. So if you want to refer back to it and see exactly what I did, you're more than welcome to do that. I'll also be popping it up onto my blog with some step-by-step instructions with a link to the video as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.